Buenas noches! Hello everyone and welcome along to League of Europe. We are here tonight for season number 8. It is round number 14 of the championship here for Division 1 as we take the Spanish Grand Prix from, of course, the Circuit de Barcelona Catalonia. And I'm sure if Jav is tuning into the stream now, he is not going to miss that introduction whatsoever. My name is James Head. I'm going to be taking to the stream, of course, as always, on a fine Saturday night, on bonfire night as well, with plenty of fireworks to be had, hopefully out on track. And joining me in the commentary box is our very own sparkler in the commentary box. It is Mr. Kivio. Killer, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. This is like a rare occurrence because the last few races, I wasn't here last week. You weren't here at Baku. It's only Belgium the last few races we've been together, but we're reunited. And as you say, bonfire night. It's a blissful evening. No violent, loud noises to be heard at all. If you've got a dog and you're tuning in, I hope they're keeping calm. I hope they've got the ear protectors on and not all stressed this evening because they need to tune in and watch some Division 1 action. And as we'll go through the standings in a sec, but the pressure's off, isn't it? Title's decided. It's all about just who can win on track today.
Yeah, title is decided. We forgot to mention that. Oh, I forgot to mention that certainly at the start, at the end of the last stream, because I didn't think the championship had actually been wrapped up by Montana, but apparently it had. Somebody was doing in the background. Montana won the championship. He's on 273 points. Didn't turn up last week. Not that it mattered really. Wouter on 150 points in second. He also didn't attend. And Connor, who was in favour to try and win the championship or try and get one finger basically to keep himself in the championship fight, he DNF last week, so that is why Connor there down in third position. And last week's result actually in what was a very, very chaotic Austrian Grand Prix was probably one of my highlights of 7 seasons of doing LOE commentary. Rocco took the win after an absolute stunning call, strategy-wise, late on in the Austrian Grand Prix. He took the race win. Second that day was Verstappen, who drove a very solid race as well. And in third, continuing on his good form, was Alp, and he has been very consistent. The American, of course, not the Turk, the American. He lives there, of course, and there he is in third position after last week's result in Austria, which was quite diabolical, I've got to say, in terms of some driving standards from a few drivers. Hopefully we've corrected those mistakes from last week. Campbell in 4th on 112 to run through the rest of the standings. Rudy in 5th on 89. Yildirim in 6th on 74. Izza and Verstappen are tied on 69 points. Not that they should be tied on 69 points, to be honest. Gary there in 9th on 59, and then Pease in 10th on 58. And then we've got your own Packer, Alp, Rocco, and Justas top 15. And then J. Cole, Maledictus, Commentus, Nathan, Forza, Brendan top 20. Other drivers that are points scored this season: Hyper, Matthias, Gladbach, Dylan, Thyman Voss, and Dan, who have all scored points so far this season. So Montana wasn't here last week and wrapped up the championship. It's really going to be a night of, is he going to do a last to first challenge?
Yes, that would be fun, wouldn't it, if we can have Montana just decide to keep it in the pit lane during qualifying. I remember Montana had, I've got a feeling, was it season 4 here, season 5? He had a really poor race. I think this was like, I think it was when he was him versus Alphatrix for the title, possibly in season 4. This was one race that got away from him. I think he finished in 11th place. I don't know why that obscure fact sticks in my head, but it does. But it would be nice if Montana can just stay in the garage during qualifying, let someone else have a go. Although you said someone else did have a go last week. Rocco taking the victory. Hell has frozen over. Pigs are flying through the sky like it's a Pink Floyd album cover. And as you say, the racing standards were pretty poor, pretty abysmal. Although, if last night has proved anything, is that it's not as bad as F1 Esports, which is saying quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, trust me, honestly, we had our fair share of issues with WOR, and that was because the server actually crashed on us halfway through qualifying, which was not great. So that is a pre-warning to anyone that might expect a few technical hitches, of course, tonight. And F1 Esports, I watched that after the WOR commentary, and honestly, I think these guys in Division 1 could probably drive a bit better around here in Spain than possibly any other F1 Esports guy. And that is, of course, taking into account Montana's ABS, which is just overpowered as F, coming into tonight potentially here in Spain. That fact that you mentioned about in Season 4, Montana did finish out the points that day. He finished in 11th position. Alphatrix, you mentioned, did take the win. Campbell took second. One ran that is returning, of course, to the Spanish Grand Prix. And in third that day, was actually Spine, NSX Spine, who was in third that day. That is going back quite a mountain hill in terms of Season 4. And the last time we visited here, of course, I forever remember Verstappen picking up the win around here. Or was it Campbell? One of the two QVR boys picked up the win around here. It was around a 10-second gap, and it was the time that Montana also struggled in that race as well. But with the championship now wrapped up, hopefully it is going to be some... we're going to have some really good action, of course, out on track tonight around a circuit, which I would now put up the fancy track map, but we haven't, so I'm going to read off the track facts on the right-hand side of me. We are in Montmeló, of course, about 25 kilometres away from central Barcelona, and we have 16 corners around a circle length of 4.675 kilometres to be exact, 2.9 miles, 4.75 kilometres the old track length before they redid, of course, turn 13, 14 and 15 added that chicane in to make it a little bit longer. Driver with the most wins around this track as well, Michael Schumacher. He has won 6 times, along with Lewis Hamilton, who has also won 6 times. And maybe, Killer, if Montana can win tonight, he might also match Schumacher and Hamilton as well.
That would be nice. Sorry, I've just been very distracted. Montana is, I think, on the same level as Schumacher and Hamilton, at least if you compare Formula 1 to ABS using league races. I'm very distracted by the readying up of the lobby right now. Verstappen's put the call out to ready up, but no one seems committed to that countdown.
It's a little fireworks display.
Yeah, so we've got a little fireworks display here in the lobby. I think a few people are AFK. I can see Gladbach's not readying up at all, nor is Alp. Alp is someone we should mention, isn't he? Because he had that stonking race at Baku, and is another one who can threaten that Aston Martin superiority. Although not here this evening. Not Aston Martin AlphaTauri superiority, I should say. Is Connor here this evening? Actually, yes, he is. So hopefully we can get a 3-way fight victory. Although you never know, because last week we saw Verstappen, didn't we? Out of nowhere in contention for the victory, so maybe we'll get a familiar name, and it's happened again. I think we're going to have to keep rambling here, James, until this countdown reaches 0.
Absolute buggers. Whoever did that on that 1 second, you are forever going to be indebted in my will as a result of that, and I hate you as a result. But we want to get going. Obviously, 10 seconds ago, hopefully until we do start, Montana saying, will be reported to the stewards. Yeah, I agree. I think that should be reported to the stewards. Somebody else is going to do this again, you watch. 1 second, there you go, whoever that was, thank you so much for that. It is just wasting a little bit of time, and of course, we have got places to be afterwards as well, so you're wasting my time, and you're wasting the viewers' time as well for doing this, so hopefully, everyone now going to be getting ready up, of course, here in Spain. To take you through the constructor standings as well, now I do have the constructor standings somewhere, give me a second, I will get them up now. AlphaTauri leading the way on 332 points. They can wrap up the Constructors' Championship tonight, I can report. And that is, of course, Montana as a full-time driver. Of course, Gary not here. He's been having wheel issues, I believe, in the last couple of days. Hopefully not the other reason in non-context Formula 1 that has been put up on Twitter, potentially. But AlphaTauri leading the way on 332 points. Ferrari in second at 219. AlphaTauri basically just need to outscore Ferrari tonight no matter how many points. And they'll wrap up the Constructors' Championship, I do believe, potentially tonight. Alfa Romeo in third on 181. Aston Martin fourth on 154. Haas in fifth on 132. Williams in sixth on 117. Mercedes in seventh on 93. Alpine in eighth on 61. McLaren in 9th on 45, and then Red Bull there in 10th on 42 points as we now come to Spain. Luckily no rain in Spain, falling mainly on the plain, but hopefully plenty of fireworks out on tonight as we've got our own bangers of 19 drivers going to be doing battle around here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Very long run down towards turn 1 as well, so plenty of overtaking opportunities. Killer, looking at the track map, obviously, you've experienced this track many a time in your League of Europe career. How is the track now? Because obviously it's a new layout for the first time.
Experienced it many times, never one here, I'm afraid to say, but as you say, a reprofiled turn 10, the corner's been opened up, it's longer radius corner, not quite the pinch point it was previously, and turn 11, which was that little left-handed uphill kink with the curb on the inside, has now been straightened out. Almost feels like a bike track, I think, this, much like Portimao, with so many long radius corners. it can feel like you're weaving around a MotoGP track. And of course, this is the on the World Superbike calendar and on the MotoGP calendar, I do believe. But those particularly turns 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then the hill turn 9, turn 12 on the way into sector 3, certainly does feel like with those long radius, never-ending corners that this track was made for bikes more so than cars. But it is a very fun one to drive. This is one of my favourites. It's one I always vote to save at the start of the season. I think it's just got tremendous flow. Sector 3 can be a little bit itty-bitty, a little bit scrappy with some of those slower corners and high sausage curbs, but overall I think this is absolutely cracking track. And we've got our champion who's going to be the first person to start his lap here.
Yep, our champion coming through turn number 12 at Bank Sabadell, and then through turn number 13, as we see a little bit of a glitch down the graphics to the left-hand side. Hopefully everything okay there, but Montana now coming through the final couple of corners. We'll turn off the time and tell me nobody's going to go into a lap bar Montana as he now comes through the final corner of New Holland, and on the run down this very long 400, nearly 500 metre run down in towards turn number 1, and Montana already reaching now the aspect of turn number 1, 195 mile an hour on braking in through turn number 1, through turn number 2, and then now through the right hander of turn number 3, and then getting in towards the end of the first sector before entering turn number 4 at Repsol. Plenty of sponsored corner names around here. 21.9 in the first sector for Montana is not too bad at all. Now coming through Repsol at turn number 4, down in towards Seat at turn number 5, of course, as I say, sponsored corners coming through here as they come through turn number 5, and then into my favourite section on the track. These series of corners will be very good if you can get it right. So it comes through turn 7, through turn 8, and then in towards Campsa corner at turn number 9, and pretty much now halfway through the lap with Montana on through turn number 9, and then in toward the left-hander, the newly reformed left-hander at turn number 10. It's a 50.9 in the middle sector, then through turn number 10, of course that used to be a full left-hander before going into a left-hander kink through 11, and then through the right-hander of turn number 12, so it really hasn't changed much, just been widened on the exit there, obviously, of turn number 10, as Montana comes through turn 13, in toward the chicane, and then before New Holland corner once again, pretty much a lap of the Spanish Grand Prix circuit, all over done with here at Barcelona Montmello, as now we come through the final quarter, on board with Montana, on the run to the line, and a 1:16.4 makes you sure that he's not doing a last to first challenge.
Yeah, very good lap from Montana, though we will see quicker today. Campbell was a touch up on Montana through the first sector. In the end, just under 2 tenths down. A couple of lazy moments from Montana. It looked like he understeered a little through turn 10, maybe that's just his line of preference, as Hyper has retired in the pits. Simon Voss goes into P3. And again, at turn 13, Montana just looked like he slid a little deep there. Car not wanting to bite as much, perhaps as it will. A very high wing track here. The drivers will be running very high downforce, although Gilbert has just gone into P2 with a 16.4. Times flying in all the way. We've already got 5 drivers in the 16s. We've got quite a spread, haven't we? From Montana down to Gladbach, 8 tenths per second, and pretty much all places within, all times within, are being filled there. So a big field spread.
Yeah, definitely so. Alp goes second there as well in the Williams, 1:16.4 from him. Montana out on top, Alp in second, Yildirim in third, and it's really the top 3 that you would favour around this track, to be honest. Alp normally quite strong, has been very consistent, keeping up his top 5 finishes here in LOE last week, of course, with a 3rd place finish. Montana, obviously, DNS didn't even start last week. Obviously, he's very strong around this track, and Yildirim, forget about him, because the German is very strong around this track, has been on pole, I think, around here before, and has picked up a podium around here before. I know that for a fact, because I think he picked up one of the last season or the season before, as Yildirim there with a 16.4, currently in 3rd position. Campbell back in the pits, Nathan back in the pits as well, Matthias is just coming through the middle sector. Rocco Reggie for real, 17.4, a little bit off his first sector, 600 up coming through turn number 4 though, the race winner of course last week in Austria. Probably one of my favourite moments in League Racing commentary, certainly, for seeing Rocco pick up a win. First time he'd won in LOE Division 1, as he now comes through and towards turn 6 and 7. The Mercedes looking quite wide, I've got to say, coming through turn 7 and 8, just right on board with them. Now coming through Campsa at turn number 9, and Rocco looking much more at home with this track and with this car coming through the middle sector. Montana was a 50.9, and Rocco is a 51.5, and he's actually down slightly in the middle sector.
Yeah, I think Rocco made a mistake on his first lap somewhere because it's very slow. He's just all overcommitting there through 12. I think, looking at Rocco, he's got no ERS left. I think he's just trying to get a bit more experience. Probably hasn't done too much practice. I think he's just pushing really hard on his in-lap to give himself a better bearing for the next run, and he is into the pits. Not surprising with that mistake. Dylan was on a lap and then had a weird, bizarre moment through the middle of turn 3 where the car just snapped on him, let go. He's had to bail on that. It's come into the pits. interestingly, Wout running out of phase with the rest of the field. Of course, with the new tyre allocation system that we have that's gone back to the days of 2019, 2018, 2017, they'll have three, most of them will have selected 3 softs and the mediums. There's no chance of 4 laps for most drivers if they'll have selected that allocation, so you don't need to rush out to try and get 4 laps in if you wanted to do that. So I think Wouter is sensibly running his run plan out of phase with the rest of the field here. He's gone out for his first lap with about 13 minutes left, and he's coming through sector 1 now, 22.1. That's that would be harsh, but that's nothing special from the man who's second in the championship right now.
Yeah, certainly down on his lap so far. Wout there coming to the left-hander turn number 5 at Sayup, then through turn number 6 in towards the chicane of turn 7 and 8. But Montana out on top, Alpine second, Neil Green third. Montana's back out on an out lap. He's coming to the final sector. As Wout now comes to the middle sector and throws off Camber coming in through turn number 9. And that is so difficult through turn number 9. It basically throws you off Camber. And a 51.3 is matching what Rocker was doing, to be honest, in the middle sector. So this is not a great lap for the relentless man at all. Is there also on a lap? He's coming through the middle sector as well. Currently, I think on an out lap. I think he might be pairing up for a full lap now. But Wouter coming through turn 13. And then into the left-hander 14 and 15. I wouldn't be surprised actually if he does bail out on this lap. But he comes through New Holland Corner at turn 16 on the run toward the line. It's not going to be anything special. 17 flat? Oh, 16.986, not too bad. That's basically a 17 flat, but still. Right up there in 11, and Izza there is just preparing up for a lap. I believe he's just starting on 1. In fact, he's actually just finished 1. 16.7, he goes into 8th position. Much better lap there from the Ferrari man. Montana out on top, Alpine second, Yildirim in third. Campbell also on a lap. He's just invalidated through the middle sector, and Montana 500 up through the first sector.
While we were talking there about Wouter, Connor popped in a 16.7, only P6 for Connor, nothing spectacular there. And then on his in-lap, he spun coming out of turn 7, a bizarre moment to do on your in-lap. But let's have a look at Montana coming through sector 3, and a 50.9 takes a much tighter line through 10, 11's a non-corner, your eyes to 12 at the crest of the hill. Stay wide of the curb, otherwise it'll spit you back out. Use as much of the exit as you can, and then the track just cascades away from you nicely. Use all of it on the left and then the right. Open up the chicane of 14 to 15 as much as you can. Use the sausage curb to cushion your exit, and 16's nice and easy in qualifying. And what's this going to be? A 16.3. Montana finds nearly another tenth of a second to extend his gap over Alp.
Campbell is 200s up currently on his lap as well. He's coming through turn number 9. Montana was level pegging in the middle sector with his own personal best in the middle sector, so it was a very good even middle sector from Montana. Campbell through the middle sector, 50.9. He is up there on this lap. The Scotsman is going to try and fly here to pole position potentially. Montana out on top. He's got Verstappen, I believe, ahead of him, which is not really going to interfere with him so much because he can pick up a little bit of a toe coming through these final couple of corners. Through 13, through the left-hander 14, through the right-hander 15. This will look like a very good lap from the Scotsman as he now comes through the final corner on the run toward the line. It's going to try and challenge Montana on the run to the line, and he does challenge him, but he goes third in the end, about a tenth down through that middle sector. Alp, by the way, has just came out and set the fastest first sector out of everyone, a 21.8 in the first sector, 2 tenths up already.
Keep an eye on Nathan. He's coming around the last corner now, and he's improving massively as well. Unless he's had a terrible last sector, I don't think he has. It's going to be a very good lap from Nathan. Actually, no, he lost a tenth. He was a tenth and a half up on his delta. Lost a bit in the last couple of corners, but that is so close that we've got from first, second, third, fourth. We have got a massive battle for pole, and Julbream's improving as well now, and Alp is up by a huge amount.
He is coming through turn 13, he's 2 tenths up, coming through 14 and 15, looking much more better. Gets a score at the moment though, coming out of 14, that cost him. I think he's still going to go quickest though, through the final corner, on the run towards the line. And he does! Barely, by 0.02 of a second. Yildirim, you mentioned, has gone third as well with a 16.385. Campbell there in fourth. Matthias has gone fifth as well. Good lap time there from the Alpine man. But it's now Alp out on top by 0.02 of a second. If he can margin out that error in his final run, Alp should be going maybe 16.1, I think.
Yeah, I think that he will have lost a good chunk of time there through sector 3. I'm just on board with Dylan. Dylan's not happy at all. His lack of practice is showing. He has about 3 stabs turning into the chicane. I'm not sure if he was on an in-lap, but even so, it was a poor lap, and I've just caught Rocco there having a big moment through turn 4, and Maledictus has spun coming out of turn 9. They're all dropping it here.
They are. It is a very tricky track. Maledictus, I've just flicked on board with him. He was down on a lap, I think, at this moment. He's actually still up 2.5 seconds up actually on his lap time. Don't get that, to be honest. Oh, he said a 1:30.7. No wonder. Maledictus spun coming through turn number 9. First one to do that, actually coming through that flat right-hander. It is relatively flat on this game compared to previous iterations of the F1 game series. Up out on top, Montana second, Yildirim and third. Maledictus is going to go again. He is going to improve in this final sector. He's another one, though, I think that is going to be affected by very limited practice, and he goes 26.1, not even a competitive time on the board. Pease through the first sector as well, 22.1 on the first sector, so the Haasman now coming in towards turn number 5. He has been struggling, I've got to say, this season, Pease. We've normally seen him up there. We've seen glimpses of what Pease can do a little bit earlier on in the season. Second half of the season, though, it has completely ebbed away from him. Not sure whether he's changed his setup or whatever, but at the moment, Pease just is not delivering the performances here in Division 1 that we expect him to, even though 51.3 in the middle sector is quite respectful to try and go in towards the mid-pack.
Yeah, it's a bit audacious of me to say, but looking at his lines through turn 10, I don't think Pease has done perhaps too much practice there. A little wide of the apex at 13 through 14 and 15. That looked much nicer from Pease, although just a little hesitant on the throttle, I think, compared to some of those we've seen before. Stays to the right hand side for the shortest run. It's going to be an okay lap. It's 16.9, and it is okay is the word. Very mid from Pease. He goes 13th. I think his interest has just waned really from where it was to start season. Didn't Pease get I think Pease got a podium at Bahrain. He finished third on the first race of the season. And Connor's on a lap, actually. Connor's going nice and quick. 9,000's up through sector 1. His lap time's nothing spectacular so far. Through turn 9, keeps it pinned to the floor in 6th gear. What's this middle sector going to be? Is he going to be in the 50s? And it is just by 50.9. So Connor could be edging between Campbell and Matthias here, but it's still not the pace we expect from Connor in D1 this season, is it?
Yeah, he backed off the throttle actually coming through turn number 9, and that probably cost him around half a tenth of a second. So Connor, for me, not really on a good lap. Clips the curb through 14. It's just silly little errors that he's creeping into. It's not going to go quickest, I don't think, with this lap. But Connor to the line goes 5th, actually, 16.5. So did find a little bit of improvement in that final sector. Nolan, by the way, there saying in the chat, bit of relentless insight on Pease. When FIFA came out, Pease's race practice had started 1 hour before the race. So no wonder he's been dropping off the midpoint of the season. Too busy playing on the FIFA World Cup update that's just recently, or is recently going to come out, I think, on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have FIFA, so I can't really hang to account. As Montana goes quicker, 16.2, out of sync with everyone on that lap, which is very rare to see from Montana. 16.2 goes quicker than Alp, but Alp, we know he can go quicker. He made that mistake, of course, through the final couple of corners, cost him a good 10th, maybe even 2/10 of a second. It looks to me, Killer, as if it's between Montana and Alp for pole.
I think so. I was just on board with Iz out there. He got very out of shape coming into turn 14, went far too wide trying to open up the corner, caught the grass, went invalid. Otherwise, he was on for a good lap that could have put him around Matthias, Nathan territory. But yeah, I think Montana, I like his strategy of going early. I think if you know you've got the lap in you, it lays a marker down. It puts the pressure on the other guy. Like if Alp was on provisional pole, I don't think he'd quite feel perhaps the same pressure. But the fact that Montana's lowered that bar even more, I think, will make Alp feel a little bit nervous and twitchy that he has to do a perfect lap when he comes through. But we mentioned that he had that mistake coming through the chicane on his second effort, so I think that'll give him some confidence that he knows the time is there. It's not a huge advantage Montana has, it's less than a tenth and a half, so we'll see where that positions Alp. And they're all staying, apart from Julbreen, they're all clinging to the pit lane for now. They wanted to go out as late as possible, it feels like.
Yeah, I've been watching comments for the summer lap. He's been looking quite quick, actually, through the first sector, through the middle sector as well, 51 flat. So he's going to go maybe around a 16.7 sort of mark. The Alpine man now coming through the left-hander and the right-hander at 10.15. And that is how you should take the chicane. Beautiful stuff from commenters. Through the final corner, gains him an extra 2/10 of a second, 14.6. Or 16.6, I should say, not a 14.6. Goodness me, he would have been absolutely blitzering ahead of everyone else. 16.658. Very good lap, and he only puts himself around 200ths of a second off his teammate Matthias. Matthias there in 6th, Comentus there in 7th. Good lap from him. Whether he stays there, though, remains to be seen. Normally around here in Spain, once you get your final runs in, that is going to be very difficult to try and improve on. These laps that currently are being set will be very difficult to improve on as we get to the end of the session. Montana right on top, Alpine second, Yildirim in third. I believe has just started up on a lap. In fact, I think he's on. Yeah, he's just preparing up for a lap, actually coming to the left-hander through turn 14 and 15. Rocker was on a lap as well, coming through the first sector. He wasn't doing anything really as quick. 10th of a second up through the first sector from our race winner last week. But Montana, Alp, Yildirim currently the top three, as I'm going to follow on board with Rocco on this lap.
Yeah, let's have a look at Rocco. 22.0 is a nice first sector, using more of the curb on the outside of turn 9, but then strays a little wide of the apex. You can see the back end threatening to step out on him. It stays just about under control of 51.2. It's much better from Rocco, 0.3 up, but is it going to be enough to bring him out the 17s? And then that's a sloppy moment on the exit of 10. I think he just got a bit trigger happy on the throttle. I'm going to quickly look at Yildirim, who's done a 22.0 through sector 1, up by 700ths of a second so far is Yildirim. He's in a good place to put himself in amongst Montana and Alp, staying well clear of the sausage curbs through 7 and 8. How he approached turn 9 compared to Rocco, very similar, but uses more of the inside curb. That was nice. Car Mentalist retired from the session. What's Yildirim's middle sector going to be in the 50s? It is at the 50.8. He's still only up by 700s though. He's not improving by the amount he needs.
Unless he puts in a really big final sector, I don't really see Yildirim actually featuring for pole position. It could be Montana out on top. Out, by the way, is just through the first sector. He's 400s down, 21.8 though, so he's actually up there on Montana in the first sector. As now Yildirim comes through the final couple of corners. On the run to the line comes the German, the Hassman, trying to go to provisional pole for now. On the run to the line, he doesn't, and he goes only 7,000ths of a second behind Alp, who is on a lap coming to the middle sector in the Williams. Campbell also on a lap as well. He is 9,000ths down to the first sector. Montana is coming through, just preparing up on a lap at this stage. So we'll flick on board, back with Alp, and he's set. Purple out of everyone in the middle sector. 50.7 in the middle sector from Alp. As long as he can correct his error coming through this final chicane, he looks now set potentially for a 16-1 and potentially for pole position if Montana doesn't rock up. But he has got traffic in the Aston Martin ahead. Alp through 14, through 15, much better. Irons out that error, coming through the final corner. He's going to gain a little bit of extra speed as well towards the line. Alp is going to go quickest here, 16 flats. Montana in through the first sector, I don't think is up there. 21.9 in the first sector. Montana down by 1/10 of a second fully.
Oh, no.
Yildirim has backed off his lap as Nathan's gone third.
Big mistake from Montana on the exit of turn 4. I think that might be the lap. He had a huge snap on. Campbell third, Nathan fourth. Big improvements there. Yildirim, he found 300s. In the end, it cost him 2 places. Connor's up through sector 1 though by 300s of a second. Matthias has had a spin at turn 2. Wouter set a good first sector. He's up by 600s as well. Verstappen, I think, is still on a lap. Yep. So who's furthest along? I think it's going to be Montana himself. And indeed, he's 400s down. So I think it's Connor that we've got to keep an eye on here. Connor and Wouter.
Mercedes and McLaren just parked off the right-hand side of turn number 7. Now, that was quite funny. Connor through the middle sector. 50.8. He's actually up there in this middle sector. He's not too far off Alp's middle sector, but his first sector was around 3/10 down. So Connor has to try and put in the effort now, coming through this final sector. The Aston Martin trying to iron out his errors as well, through 13. Now through the left-hand of 14 as we cascade down. That was a mistake. He takes the escape road. He crashes into the wall. And that is not the way you should be ending off your session, Connor. I know the frustration has probably taken better and taken a hold of him there, but come on, he's basically just retired on track in qualifying. The stewards, of course, will definitely have a look at that one. Wouter, Verstappen on laps, I believe. Wouter goes 7th. Verstappen is not on a run. Jeroen is not on a run as well. And that, my friends, is the end of qualifying. It is Alp out on top. Montana in second. We thought it would be between these two. I really didn't expect Alp to be on pole, but there we go.
And a chunky advantage as well. 1/10.5 by the end of the session is a fair amount when everyone has maxed out their lap. So I'm intrigued what Montana would have done if he felt he had much time in that lap, if he hadn't have made that mistake into turn 4. That retirement from Connor doesn't sit right with me. There were still cars coming through there. Wouter and Verstappen were still coming through that section. And he's distracted when you see the yellow flags flashing. When you in your screen, you see the yellow transition on your screen, the yellow flag pops up. It is distracting, and Dylan has picked up a 5-second penalty for illegal
it's in sudden
blocking.
AI! And Iz has picked up a 5-place grid penalty. They're in sudden AI, and they're getting 5-place grid penalties for illegal blocking. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a restart, but come on. It's another glitch in the game that should be fixed. It is so frustrating. It's not the first time it's happened. It certainly won't be the last time. Codemasters, get your asses in gear, quite literally, because I think all of these errors are so frustrating, I think, from my perspective. Alp out on top. Obviously, we'll run through the full grid as they will be. Alp out on top, Montana in second, Campbell there in third, Nathan there in fourth, Yildirim there in fifth. Big chasm of a gap to Connor down in sixth. Disappointing, 16.5. Right there in seventh. Timon Voss there in eighth with Matthias and that. And Carl Menselis in the end with that lap getting into the top 10. Glad back in 11th. Izza will be in 12th position if we do restart. Verstappen in 13th, Pease 14th, Jeroen in 15th, Dylan in 16th, Rocco, Maledictus and Hyper rounding off the top 19. At this current moment in time, I haven't been informed if we're getting a restart, but I'm assuming we are.
We are getting a restart, so Dylan and Izzat will be allowed to reclaim their placings, which is only fair because it's the AI's mistake. And as you say, just classic Codemasters things.
It is classic Codemasters things. It's so frustrating from our perspective because we are the commentators here. We want to see pretty much a perfect start to the race, as we have got now a migrating host in Verstappen who's going to be setting up the new lobby, which shouldn't really be needed, to be honest, if Codemasters actually fix their game, which is just absolutely dumbfounding me. It has been, 7 years, I think, underneath this game cycle. We can't even leave the session at this stage either. I certainly can't. Oh, now I can. There we go. That needs fixing as well, potentially. But yeah, it is so frustrating, obviously, from Izza and Dylan's perspective, because they didn't do anything wrong. They were not in control of their car, and it's just a stupid, silly little glitch that Codemasters has still got in this game, even though, along with the audio stuttering and any other glitch that has been had, they've been in the game, 7 years now, and they need fixing.
To add to Codemasters' ineptitude, when Verstappen left the lobby, my game crashed. So I'm having to reboot the game. Just Codemasters are inept. Yeah, inept is the word. I think they. It's the way the esports get access to a different build to us that's presumably less glitchy, less buggy, suffers from fewer issues. I think it feels like a slap in the face to the community and the league racing community who have to put up with there are worse words I could use, but the poop of F1 22.
But we've got to keep it child friendly, although I've used the word arses on this stream already, and I'm not going to take it back, to be honest, because it's absolutely true what they should be doing. I think the game has been woefully underfunded in terms of what the development of the game should be like. F1 Manager, from an indie developer in, is it Frontier Developments, I think, that do the F1 Manager game?
It is indeed.
They have created a game with F2 and F3 drivers in, with car development aspects and everything in. You are basically a manager. Obviously, with the game title, you're obviously a manager for a Formula 1 team. That's what really, ideally, should be brought into the F1 22 series, or the F1 game series, because, as I say, it's been woefully underfunded. Me and Aiden went on a full rant last night about other things as well. That was in WOR, and it's so frustrating because I think every single commentary I've had in the last 2 or 3 weeks has included at least one, if not multiple glitches on the game. And from my perspective, I've had enough, certainly. I know all of these drivers who paid good money for this game as well have had enough. And I mean, coming back to your esports point, esports didn't even run on the sports delivery patch update. So we are getting the sports delivery game update. F1 esports aren't. And yet F1 esports probably had worse driving standards than us last week.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Are you aware of what happened in Division 3 at Belgium?
Division 3 at Belgium? No, I'm not. I'm going to send Aiden an invite, by the way, so I'll quickly do that, and then I'll get you back in on the stream, so apologies about that. Everyone's unfriended Aiden. That's why I have to send him an invite. Otherwise, he will not race, which is very fun indeed. And obviously, if you have unfriended him, please don't. Please friend him, just for the benefit of quick invites and all that. Right, there we go. I've now got off blue screen. You can continue on with your Division 3 Belgium point.
Yes, so in Division 3, the safety car came out on lap 16. I think the message was shown that the safety car was coming in. The safety car did not come in. The safety car said it went under green flag. The safety car continued going round for the last 6 laps of the race, with everyone having to dodge it at full speed. It wasn't stationary. It was completing lap after lap after lap, which is interesting bug, to say the least, that I haven't seen so far. But yes, an odd one.
Yeah, very odd one indeed. But yeah, Frankie, by the way, in the chat saying your own GOAT, obviously part of the FER team there. Frankie, good to see him. He's always joining into our live streams these days, obviously supporting the FER boys, which is really good to see, and that's what we want, team support and individual support as well in the chat. Alp saying as well, all of this waiting is just adding more pressure on me to bottle the start. Of course, Alp is on pole position, Montana alongside him, and from Alp's perspective, you do not want Montana alongside him because he can get starts that nobody else probably can, mainly because of his ABS advantage.
Yes, although, I mean, ABS isn't going to help you in the start. It will help you in plunging deep onto the brakes into turn 1. But here, it's not really heavy braking zone. You go from 8th gear down to 5th gear. So it's not a super heavy braking zone here. So it's one you've got to navigate with caution when you come to turn 1. Don't assume you can send it against someone because they'll be braking very late as well. It's not like Monza, for example, or even tracks like Miami where it pinches up into a hairpin where you've got that deep braking zone. So I don't think Montana's advantage into turn 1 will be necessarily what it would be somewhere else. I'm trying to think of other tracks with heavy braking on turn 1. Vietnam would be one, but that's no longer in the game. Where else has a really heavy braking zone into turn 1?
Mexico?
Mexico, yeah. Are there any that are second gear other than Monza?
Monaco?
Monaco, I suppose, yeah. Well, I mean, Monaco, you never really get going long enough for it to be a heavy braking zone. You can tell that it's been a long interlude that we're now just trying to fill that gap. How did Sunderland get on today?
I would rather not talk about that, but for the benefit of everyone who doesn't care about the Sunderland football team, we lost 1-0 to Cardiff at home, so not that good from our perspective. And yeah, I mean, we haven't really got a fully functioning striker. Hopefully, though, we will have a fully functioning game in just a couple of minutes, because I've been informed we're going to be getting going very soon. Indeed, the final checks are being made by Verstappen to get everything back going once again. T-Brum there in the chat saying as well, 16.066 was Alps, or was Elite's pole time in FRA, which I think was the league that obviously Otis Lawrence is in, he was on about, obviously, and if that is the case, he's very close, obviously, to qualifying. I mean, Chazoo Tom, who many of you might know as well, we did WOR, was it WOR? On Friday? I think it was. WOR. In the end, Tom's lap time around Austin was 3/10, I think, off pole position in F1 Esports, and that was in qualifying 3 as well. So it just comes to show, some of these guys, obviously on the PS platform, we have the privilege of commentating on some of the best guys on the PS platform. Maybe not necessarily in League of Europe, obviously in WO and PSGL, where you're going to be seeing more real good racing, of course, coming up.
Oh, but no, we've got a similar issue with the readying up going on here, I think.
Oh, no. Oh no, just ready up, just for the benefit of everyone. I think we want to get Tower fireworks displays and everything by the end of this.
And I've got to hop over to D2, so...
Exactly. All of these little... I've got to go out after this as well, which is not that great. But hopefully we will get going very soon indeed. It looks like some of them have got the memo, at least. We are going to be getting going very soon indeed for Spain. Because obviously the formation app is going to be on, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I'm wanting, Mr. Killer Blue, your top 3 from what we saw there in qualifying.
I'm going to say Montana wins, Campbell is second, and Alp is third. Although, I don't know, I've only got Alp's Baku pace really to go off from what I've seen. And the difficult one, I think Campbell will be there. I think this is going to be Campbell's best race of the season. But Montana's definitely going to win. 100% Montana wins this race. Third place, I'm on the fence about. It could be Alp, it could be someone completely random. Last week shown that predictions are often to be proven wrong. The late great Murray Walker said he doesn't make predictions, he makes prophecies that immediately turn out to be incorrect. So my prophecy is it's going to be Montana, Campbell, and Alp.
My prophecies are always wrong, so that's why I don't go into any prophecies, to be honest. And that's why, to be honest, I don't really follow the teachings of Murray Walker. I don't know where this cough has come from. Goodness me, not that good, but we are going to get going in the formation app, which is going to get me a very good drink, I think, at this stage. Don't know where this is coming from. I think I've swallowed a fly, I think. Hopefully everything is going to be good for the race start. Otherwise, you might have to do a solo stream at this rate. I promise it's not COVID. I've fully recovered from COVID now. It is just a little dry cough that I've got, but I think everyone's like that after they've recovered from COVID. But yeah, hopefully we're going to be getting going very soon indeed. I mean, the 30-second countdown is on, and judging by some of the Mercedes strategy, and judging by what I've seen Gladbach's pit lane as well, looks like majority of drivers are going to be starting on a set of hards, which probably would be the tyre to go on at the start of this race.
See, normally I have a strong intuition about whether it's going to be a medium-hard race or a hard-medium race. I don't know today. I know some of the QBR guys are thinking medium-hard, so expect that. For the rest of them, I don't actually know, because of course they've got two sets of mediums now to use, and the majority actually have gone medium. Yeah. Wow to the exception. Car Mentalist Gladbach is at exceptions. Pease and Jeroen is an exception. Hyper, the last one. So what's that? 3, 6, 7 drivers on hards. 13 on mediums, including all of the top 6. Now, I don't think we've ever seen this season, Division 1, where all of the top 5 or 6 cars, as Nathan decides to go exploring the extremities of the track there across the sleeping policeman, I think we've ever seen this, where we've had the top 4, even the top 3, 4, 5, let alone 6 drivers all starting on the same tyre. This is going to be fascinating.
It is going to be fascinating, and actually at the roads away, potentially some of the advantage that everyone would have been getting on the set of mediums, because I was honestly thinking the likes of Campbell, the likes of Yildirim would go into a set of hard compounded tyres, but they're not. They're going committing to that set of mediums, and it puts now everyone in the top 6 basically, plus Timon and Matthias in the top 10. It's an Alfa Romeo off. That's Campbell, who I think who was spun in the background of shot. Luckily, no damage on the formation lap. I think they might add that in for F123, to be honest, but Campbell has spun. What I was saying, though, is everyone is now on an even playing field, with Matthias and Timon also included in that list in the top 10. So that means Wouter and Car Mentalist potentially going to get absolutely swamped, and if they're not careful, they could be behind Verstappen by the end of lap 1, because Verstappen's on that set of mediums. We know he's quick around here. We know how good he is around this track as well. So Verstappen is going to be one to watch out for, I think, certainly from the start.
Yeah, and Dylan as well. I think Dylan never really quite got his qualifying together. Not too sure his pace is like, so he could be one to watch out for as well. Car Mentalist is lucky, well, not lucky, but fortunate that 4 of the 5 cars directly behind them are on hards, which mitigates some of that disadvantage. But there's gains to be had there, as you say, certainly for Verstappen. So we've got everyone coming into position now. Let's see how they angle up. Alp's been disqualified. So he's going to sit very far back in his grid spot. I don't know who you're watching, but you can see from Montana, at least I can, that Alp's very far back. So that'll give Montana plenty of impetus to get a move on into turn 1, as we've just got Hyper coming into position now.
Yeah, it's basically put him, I would think, around a metre closer to Montana. So that metre is going to come in very, very interestingly indeed. Is it's being disqualified along with Hyper. But now, the 5 red lights going out here in Spain. Round number 14 on the championship about to begin. And it is lights out and where we're going already. Montana gets a really good start off the line. He's passed Alp even before turn number 1. Alp has slept off the start, and now Nathan goes past. Campbell goes past as well. And Campbell is on the outside line running down in towards turn 1. On board with Alp. Coming through turn number 1. Hangs it in there on the inside line. Campbell, though, on the inside line through turn number 3, tries to get the job done. Everyone I think is clean through in the background. Alp holds on to 3rd somehow. Montana though leads the way. Nathan in 2nd. Williams now 2nd and 3rd, and now could be 2nd and 4th because Campbell tries to go down the inside line. Timon Voss and Car Mentalist making good ground. There's a bit of contact in the background. Rocco and Dylan I think might have got involved in that as Timon right on the back, and it's absolutely a who's who running down as Connor dives. Timon Voss in towards turn number 5, gets the job done, and now Car Mentalist once again is side by side with his old adversary. He's on that set of hard compounded tyres and just about shoves him off coming through turn 7 and 8, but it's Montana that leads the way. Nathan in 2nd, Alp in 3rd. Pretty good restart, pretty good start from everyone through the field. Maledictus going side by side with Dylan in the background, but Montana leads the way. Nathan in 2nd. Alp said the pressure might get to him off the start. The pressure did get to him, and there's a huge contact down the field. It's Car Mentalist and Timon Voss.
Yeah, so that was Timon Voss twice. The first contact was he punted the back of Connor into turn 4. Connor was very lucky not to be spun around. Timon Voss got caught out, stayed in that position, was then behind Car Mentalist, and then did the exact same to Car Mentalist in turn 10 that he did to Connor into turn 4. Again, just lazy on the brakes, slamming into the back of the car in front, spinning them round. Car Mentalist has lost 3 places in that, and will be seething, I'm sure, in that Alpine, because Timon Voss has made is hit 2 drivers twice in the same lap. He's now going to have a go at Matthias. into turn 1. Let's hope there's no contact this time. Round the outside, Matthias just runs him out of road, and Tony Voss is going to have to settle for 9th place, but very shoddy driving there from the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, Dutchman now down in 9th position. Matthias there in 8th. Comments I was seeing there in 13th. As now Rocco has made a mistake, I think, coming out of turn number 3. He got caught sideways through turn number 3, and now he's going to be overtaken by Verstappen. Does Rocco have any damage? Oh my god! Nearly did have damage there. Big snap of oversteer. That save of the season right there from Rocco. How on earth he avoided Verstappen, I do not know. Verstappen doing his into 16th, Rocco in 17th, and Hyper and Dylan both picking up damage on the first lap, and they are down at the back of the field. I think Hyper might have gone for an actual tyre change rather than a wing change. Dylan with 7 seconds behind at this moment in time. Montana leads the way. Nathan in 2nd, Alpine 3rd. Alp, as we say, slept off the start. You're now on the back of Tymon Voss, and all aboard the Tymon train, I think, at this stage. The Talent Factory man clearly not learning the lessons of Rudy, who had picked up a race ban last week in Austria, of course part of the same Talent Factory team, and he is driving at this moment in time in 9th position with Jeroen there in 10th, Gladbach there in 11th, and Tymon Voss into the pit lane. I wonder if he's got damage.
Yeah, he punted the back of 2 cars quite hard in Car Mentalist's case. So I think that's 100% damage. And what is that getting up to? With Gladbach into turn 1, that's a nice easy move. We've got some DRS now, not quite on this straight, but we will do into turns 9 and 10, and Jeroen just ahead. I saw had a big moment through 1, and then caught another into 2, and that's going to bring Is That Right to play. As Tymon Voss retires from the session, leaves the session. Nearly ruins 2 drivers' races. Oh, and look at, I'm going to interrupt myself there, because look at Car Mentalists all over the back of Gladbach, and behind them, look at Pease and Maledictive as well through turn 4. Is Car Mentalists going to switch to the inside just ahead? Have a look at Gladbach. No, he's not, but this bottleneck, I suppose you could call it, that Tymon Voss has created, is giving some great action there. I forgot what I was originally going to say, but it doesn't matter, because we've got some wheel-to-wheel action out on track.
Yeah, we have indeed. Car Mentalist looks very racy. He is seething in that helmet. He's using the seething effect to good effect, I think, at this point, because he's on the back of Gladbach, really pushing him, hammering him, and he's on basically a hard runner train with Maledictus, Verstappen and Rocco in behind. So I'd be very happy. Tymon Voss, by the way, retired in the pit lane. He was retiring on the exit coming out the pit lane. I think maybe to try and judge maybe a safety car coming out or something like that. Disappointing, to say the least, to be honest. You shouldn't really be doing that in any league, let alone here in League of Europe. Montana leads the way, Nathan in 2nd, Alp there in 3rd, Campbell there in 4th, Gilbroom there in 5th, and Car Mentalist seething now on the back of Gladbach, down the inside, in towards turn 1. This should look easy now for the Brit on the German. Job done. Car Mentalist through, and he's into 11th, and Gladbach now down into 12th, and pretty much on the relegation zone outside the points.
Yeah, I think Gladbach was didn't use the ERS. I think he's trying to play Cummins a little bit there. As soon as Cummins was through, he put the ERS on. I think he wanted to try and switch back on the inside to turn 1, realised he'd been mugged a little bit and had to give up the place, and then runs almost very wide on the exit of turn 4, and if he's not careful, Pease will be the next in line to dispatch that Red Bull. Jerome's not really cleared too much from this. He's on the hard tyres, so are the cars behind him. But I think when I've caught Jeroen, he's been having some very sloppy apexes. Doesn't seem particularly satisfied. Nearly won, of course, didn't he, a few races ago? I think was it Belgium? Jeroen nearly edged out Montana, couldn't quite do it. Back to normality for him in the races since, and is struggling a little bit now. Speaking of struggling, QBR Nathan, he's a second and a half behind Montana, and has got his on-track teammate today, Altma, is looking good for perhaps a move into turn 1 here. I
think this looks quite easy actually for Alp running down and towards turn 1. He is closing very rapidly indeed. This will be done, I think, just before the corner entry, out to the inside line of turn 1. Nathan, in the end, doesn't really fight that, and Alp is through, and he's into 2nd, and Connor's waltzing his way down the inside line of Wouter as well. He is through, and he's into 6th position. Connor really up for this race, really improving, and certainly in terms of his driving rate, a lap upon lap at this stage. Connor through, and he's into 6th, and if he can actually now use that pace and utilise his ERS advantage to good effect, Yilbring's on 16% of ERS, Connor's on 40. If I was Connor, I'd be desperate to get within that 2nd, and I'd drag Wouter along with me, and then put Matthias and Jeroen potentially in a bit of no man's land, as we have got our favourite sex spot there in the chat. Thank you very much for tuning in at this stage. But Montana leading the way, up in 2nd, and Connor's had a huge moment coming out of turn 7.
Yeah, he has. I don't know if he hit the yellow curb, but he just had a massive slapper, corrected left, then corrected right. He's given Wouter a big incentive to get through, although Wouter, crucially, wasn't within the second range at the DRS detection point, so actually he's going to have to wait for turn 1. But Wouter's in a really good position here. He's on the harder tyres, but those tyres will just get better and better and better as the stint goes along. It's one of those rare tracks where the tyres get better rather than worse as the fuel load burns off. And I think Wouter, he stayed nice and close to the medium runs ahead of him. Connor's only 2 seconds behind. He's in a good position, Wouter, to make some moves later on in this race, because he's going to be the only one of our leaders on the medium tyres towards the end of this race. And Nathan is still hanging with Alp, hasn't he? He's not been dropped by the Williams, and in fact, as I say that, Alp gets very out of shape through turn 1. The mediums will start to go off, but I know from practicing with QVR Campbell earlier, they do come back towards you. I think we're going to see these medium runners go very deep into this race, to at least around lap 14, lap 15. The fronts will go off first, and then it's when the rears go and you start to slide, particularly through the lower speed, turn 10, turn 11, turn 12, through those kind of corners. When the rears start to go, that's when it becomes a problem, and they'll be coming in, but that won't be for another 8 laps or so yet, I don't think.
Yeah, the bearing load around this track is put, I think, on the front right tyre first, and then the rest pretty much follow in line. And Verstappen really putting that to good effect, because he can't obviously get the pass done on Maledictus. Maledictus is all over the shop in front of him. And Verstappen, if I was him, I'd try and look and get this move done, coming through turn 9 and then towards turn number 10. And do you know what? He might just take it out the James Head trade book here, to the inside line, down and towards turn number 10. Verstappen, beautiful stuff, through turn number 10, James Head-esque. Verstappen through and he's into 14th, and Matthias has had a spin. I think further up the field, he's dropping down into 11th position. Connor's at the race, and Nathan has spun as well.
What has happened there? That must have been some kind of direct contact, because is Nathan losing a front wing? I'm waiting for him to come around the last corner.
No, Connor's spun through
damage.
the chicane. Nathan has spun actually coming through the final corner. So that, I think, a separate instance.
Unrelated.
Really strange.
Really, and that's a strange way for Connor to drop it. I wonder, you remember in qualifying I said, is that when invalid, he just...
Oh, please! Sorry to cut you off. Tries to go around the outside of Gladbach, doesn't make the move stick. He can continue on. Isat
made that mistake coming into the turns 14 and 15, where he just tried to open up the corner too much, caught the grass on the outside on the way into 14, and it kind of sucked him in.
Yeah.
And I think Connor did something similar when he crashed on his last lap. I wonder if Connor's made that mistake again, and it's just sent him straight into the wall, or if he had a rage-filled moment like he did in qualifying, made a mistake, and his brain just went, sod this, and he just instinctively just ploughed it into the wall. Either or, it's made this race very, very interesting. No safety cars to speak of, though, and it's really strung the field out, because apart from Giron, the top 6 are all running now their own race with no DRS.
Yep, Hyper's now come into the pit lane to retire as well. Dylan might follow him in. He's right on the other side of the track at this stage. Matthias on the back of comments is recovering well after that mistake. Didn't see what happened to him. I can only assume he got caught, I think, coming out of turn number 3, if I'm not mistaken, Matthias, as he is on the back of his teammate Commensalist. They're on a set of hard compound tyres. Matthias has got 76% of ERS to try and use up. There are yellow flags at this point on track as well, so he can't get the overtake done, but I don't think he really cares, because he is going to try and get this job done. In towards turn 1, Matthias right on the back of comments, dives it down the inside line. Oh, nearly team-on-team contact there from the Alpines. Matthias there on the back of commenters doesn't get the job done. He currently remains in 10th position. Commenters there in 9th, but for how long? Because Matthias looking like a right hot rash on the back of him, and he is trying to channel his inner self, I think, to try and get this job done. But Commensalist now just seems the point. Oh my god! Just seems the point. I was gonna say of the hards beginning to come into play, but saying that, Commensalist just had a slide coming out of turn number 5. So we're at this crossover period now where I think the hard compound tyres are certainly going to be better than mediums, and we should see Commensalist, you would think, pull away from Matthias, who looks like he's got more straight line speed.
It's a very protracted crossover. It's quite a weird track for the tyres here. It really depends on the driver. From this point on, if you really are leery on the throttle and you can't keep, and you've got an unstable setup, then at this point the mediums really will be going away from you. If you've got a very planted setup, the mediums can hold pace with the hards for another 5 or 6 laps. So I think this is really going to be quite setup dependent, which is an interesting one because we don't see it too much. As Matthias has a big moment there, and in fact a bigger moment for Gladbach behind, who dips a wheel in the ground, loses 1 place. He's going to lose a second to Verstappen. But yeah, the hard tyres will come into play more. But I think it's going to depend on the individual drivers as to when the mediums start to go off. For example, earlier on, My mediums went off around lap 12. I couldn't control the rear. Campbell could keep them in for another 3 or 4 laps. So it's going to be interesting. And speaking of interesting, Alp. I don't know if Montana made a mistake or if Alp's just quicker, but Alp was about 1.7 seconds behind or Nathan was, before Nathan made that mistake. Alp's now 1.3 behind Montana. So Montana's made a mistake, or Alp has got the hurry up there.
I think Alp is just consistently quicker lap on lap to Montana. It's 1.3 seconds. Last time around, I think it was around 1.8, so Alp now beginning to pick up his pace, clearly now feeling like he's in his rhythm, clearly feeling like he's going to try and chase down Montana, and look at how strung out basically the top 7 are. So you're rolling all the way down to Rocco, who are, 9, 10 drivers in that train. Your own there in 7th is really becoming the cork in the bottle in this race, and Alp is trying to hunt down Montana. He has got around about 8% less than Montana at this stage in terms of ERS, but I think he's using the ERS at points of the circuit where Montana isn't, and even down the straights, visibly, Alp is quicker down the straight, so I think that is why he's obviously been gaining. As a result, maybe, as you say, Montana made a mistake last time. We certainly didn't see it on our camera angle anyways, but Montana leading the way, 1.4 seconds over Alp at this stage. Campbell there in 3rd, Yildirim in 4th, and it's Wouter, Nathan, Jeroen is a commensurate, Matthias top 10, Pease, Verstappen, Gladbach, Maledictus, Rocco top 15, as Nathan's gone for spin through turn 3.
Yeah, he's had his second moment of the day. I don't think that'll be any damage unless he's caught some side pod damage or something. This race really needs, I think we need someone to poke it with a stick and bring out a safety car or something. Because the top 6 are looking far too comfortable. Even Jeroen, he's got that in DRS, but that's not exactly hounding the back of that Mercedes. He looks comfortable, I dare say, does Jeroen from Izzat and car medalist behind. Matt's no longer making the impression on back of car medalist, so perhaps his mediums are going away, as you alluded to. Pease and Verstappen not doing too much either. Verstappen's really only dragged himself back to where he started after a difficult opening couple of laps. So, that is Nathan has gone for spin number 3. So perhaps he picked up some rear wing damage there when he spun for the second time. Because
Alp has this huge moment coming out of the final 2 corners, Tokyo drifting style, out of turn 15. Just about kept the car on a straight line. I thought he was going to spin for some moment, but he has lost 0.2 of a second there to Montana for the race lead. And yeah, I think you're getting to the end of your point there that Nathan really not liking this track, is he? He's down there in 15th position. Very good qualifying. Always, when qualifying goes well for him, the race normally doesn't.
I think he's got wing damage. I'm just on board with him now. Rear wing damage, that is, because the rear is wanting to let go the instant he turns into any corner whatsoever. So I think he's going to come in to retire here, which when you've got rear wing damage, that I think that's the only time I'd say retiring the pits is completely fair, because you can't fix it. The car is a horrible poo box to drive, and you're just putting yourself at risk of creating a safety car for everybody else.
Like the word poo box there. I think that's our new favourite phrase potentially in the commentary box. Montana leads the way, Alp in 2nd, Campbell there in 3rd. We'd like to speak the truth, let's put it that way, on the League of Europe Division 1 commentaries here. Izza on the back of Jeroen. Jeroen was looking comfortable. I think Izza's now beginning to get into his rhythm as well. And actually they're catching Wouter. There is a yellow flag. That's obviously Nathan coming out the pit lane once again. That's another glitch that Cody should really try and fix. Jeroen, 4.1 seconds. It was 4.7 just 2 laps ago. So Jeroen now beginning to pick up. Wouter in a bit of no man's land is obviously being affected. He's having to use his tyres at a bit of a heavier rate because he's basically got nobody in front of him, nobody behind him. So he's really basically defending thin air. But Jeroen, very limited on ERS. Is it not using up his ERS down the straight? But I think he should. I think, honestly, he should try and go maybe for the move in towards turn 1 next lap around, because Jeroen, to me, looks a sitting duck at this stage. He's got 32% more ERS at this stage, compared to Jeroen, who just runs off circuit coming out of the exit of turn number 2. And now, with Matthias' mediums going off the cliff, why wouldn't you go for the overtake? Because Matthias now is dropping out of a second. I think those 3 now, commensurates included in that battle, have got to work together to try and pull away from Matthias, who I think is now going to be at the expense of Pease in the background, who is driving, I've got to say, quite well now. Yeah,
Pease is looking fairly solid. I think the thing of it is, as you say, if he gets past Jeroen, there's a nice bit of clean air between Jeroen and Wouter that Izzat can really push into and kick on from. And he'll see that Jeroen's red light is ERS half light is blinking all the way around the lap, even all the way through turn 10 under braking through 11. He'll know that Jeroen's got absolutely sweet FA of ERS So I think, as you say, this is Alp's moment. He needs to make that move sooner rather than later. But his gap, 0.6 per second through 14.15. He's not close enough. He'll have to dump all of his ERS and his DRS and try and rely on some slipstream and hope he's running lower wings than Giron to make the move here because he's too far back. Although Matt is going to be our first scheduled pitter here into the pit lane at the end of lap 11. He's going to be on hard and he's going to run to the end of the race, and you best hope that there's no safety car in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, Matthias, I think lap 12 normally the sort of starting of the pit stops around here in Spain. Rockers also came in for a set of hard compound tyres as well, so they're both in. Dylan on the other side of the track is not going to be actually in anywhere near these two coming out the pit lane. Rocker was going to be coming out the pits probably around 5 seconds ahead of Dylan when he gets to the start-finish line. Montana leading the way 1.9 seconds. Alp doesn't look comfortable now, I've got to say, out on track. It's the first time I've run on board with him since his mistake, and he doesn't look comfortable now. Just with the gaps alone, now at 1.8, 1.9 seconds and hovering around that part. And in actual fact, Campbell is now beginning to get a little bit of a shift on. He's there in third position in the Scotsman, pulling away 3.2 seconds to Yildirim. It was 2.5, so Campbell now really beginning to pick up his pace. And I wonder if these guys are actually going to bail to come in the pit lane very soon indeed, or one of these guys might. They continue on at least another lap. Yildirim there in fourth has to try and do something different, and he's exactly doing something different because he is into the pit lane to come in for a set of hard compound tyre, which will take him, of course, to the end of this race as we have our second sex spot of the night. And Rezify saying some loyal fans right here. I totally agree. We love the sex spots here on the League of Europe.
They are our biggest fans, our biggest chat contributors, aren't they? That's a no-brainer decision for Gilbert. He's going to come out in a mighty clean gap between Gladbach and Matthias, who's coming around the last corner now. So Gilbert, he's in a good position to kick on, get some clean air. The thing is, I know Campbell particularly, it was earlier on today, was a very big fan of the medium tyre. For him, they just kept getting better. He was putting in some really consistent lap times. I would go in race director, but I'm scared because I don't remember at Silverstone I went in race director and I wasn't able to get back out again. So I'm scared of race director in these commentary boxes. But Campbell, yeah, he's looking really tidy. He's closing up to Alp a little bit on this lap. And you say Alp looking unhappy. I think this comes down to setup. I think Campbell's running a stabler setup than Alp. So that Alp, if he's running a more aggressive front end, the rear's going to slip away from him quicker and easier and sooner than it is for Campbell. But Campbell's in. So ignore everything I just said. Or maybe he's feeling an undercut.
I think he's feeling an undercut potentially. He knows Alp, I think, is now struggling in terms of his tyres. They're going to just try and pound round, I think, at this stage. Campbell, though, into the pit lane. He is there, third position, 2.1 seconds, now obviously dropping down because everyone on the set of hards is now going past, and that means he's going to be potentially side by side with Yildirim coming out the pit lane here. This could be quite tight, actually, for the Alfa Romeo man. Coming out the pit lane exit now, in actual fact, just scrap what I've just said because he's absolutely miles ahead of him coming out the pit lane. Gladbach once again on the back of Verstappen. He made a mistake actually coming through turn number 2 last time around. Verstappen under pressure as well. He is enjoying those set of mediums more than Campbell is actually, which is very strange indeed. But Campbell out of the pit lane ahead of Yildirim by around what will be around 3 seconds, I think, by the end of this lap. And Campbell there now in a bit of no man's land. He's got to really rely on Montana and Alp to fall over each other, I think, at this stage. But then again, Alp, 1.6 seconds. He is now beginning to come back into this once again. It's 1.4, so he runs wide coming through turn number 11 there. And Montana still 1.6 seconds. The gap extends once again. But Alp now, once Campbell now off his back, he seems to be getting back into his rhythm again. So he may go a couple of laps extra, but we'll see what Montana does. He stays out and Alp is into the pit lane. But that is not the pit entry that he wants.
Well, there's no bollard there because usually I know PSGL had a huge controversy there about staying to the right of the bollard and a 5-second penalty. So I'm quite happy that the bollard is gone personally. But
oh my God.
His trouble is he's going to have a very slow outlap while those hard tyres come in. We know the warm-up is a thing. He's very real on this game. He's going to come out just ahead of Campbell because Campbell will have had to suffer that warm-up. But
and his Gladbach now to the inside line of Verstappen, tries to get the job done until turn number 1. He's got the car alongside, should get the job done through turn 3. Beautiful stuff, great battle that. Gladbach through, and he's into 7th. Verstappen there in 8th, and Alp there in 9th position. He has came out of the pit lane 2.5 seconds clear of of Campbell, I should say. Campbell in turn is 3.2 seconds clear of Yildirim, so that really actually has worked out in Alp's favour compared to Campbell's favour.
Yeah, but Alp's got to suffer those cold tyres on this lap. Campbell is going to catch him a huge amount, already down to 1.7. So I don't think he'll get within DRS range by the end of the lap, but certainly having the extra lap on those tyres, Campbell is going to get some kind of undercut, even if it's a tiny one. You can see Alp had a huge lift through turn 9, and Campbell's taken over a 10th out through that one corner alone. Montana is into the pits. We've got a yellow flag. That's Rocco at turn 3. He's gone for his second adventure of the day. So where is Alp going to be in relation to Montana? If the gap's around 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds, the gain that Campbell's made on Alp this lap, Alp is now going to do to Montana on the next lap, when Montana's the one with cold tyres. So this is going to bring these three together a treat.
Montana's going to be in trouble here, I think, because he's going to come out, if not side by side with Gladbach and Verstappen coming out of the pit lane. This is not good for Montana coming out of the pit lane. Gladbach is ahead of him coming through turn number 1. Montana now is ingrained with Verstappen in a battle, and Verstappen now, with much warmer tyres, is going to try and go around the outside of turn number 3, and he realises that the champion is there ahead of him. This is not good news for Montana. Montana's going to hold up Verstappen, who then in turn is going to back up into Alp. This is helping Alp as a result. Now 1.9 seconds. So that gap, that eroding gap basically that he had of around 1.6, 1.7 seconds is now basically at the same point. It's now 1.9, but Montana hasn't got those hards up to temperature at this point. Now, by the end of his lap, though, he will. Montana now beginning to try and streak away from Verstappen slightly as he comes there through the left-hander, or the right-hander of turn number 9 into the left-hander of turn number 10. But Alp now buoyed by Montana nearly coming out in a bit of traffic. Gladbach can still continue on as well. So this really has not ended up, I think, working for Montana. I think he was expecting to get ahead of Gladbach. In the end, Gladbach, who will still continue on for a good few laps yet, is going to try. Oh, it's actually, as soon as I say that, he comes in the pit lane and gets him out of the way. So that is okay. And Verstappen's in the pit lane as well, which now means we've got Gladbach and Montana separated by around 1.5 seconds out on track, with Alp setting the new fastest lap.
Yeah, but Montana picked up some DRS cheekily from Gladbach there, and he's going to be hoping very soon that P's Carmentis is all into the pits nice and sharpish before he gets caught in that train. If he does get caught in that train, it's going to help Alp no end. 1.4 seconds is the gap. Campbell's dropped off a little bit, in fact, on the last lap. So Alp in a groove on these hard tyres, perhaps more so than he was on the mediums. He's streaked away from Campbell a little bit, and he's matching quicker than Montana through the first sector. Montana's tyres will be nice and toasty now, so there's nothing to factor in there. This is all about who's got the pure pace. Speaking of pure pace, Carmentis is very close to the back of Isat's Ferrari through turn 9. Gap's less than 0.3 a second, but it's such a short DRS zone here, and a particularly short braking zone into turn 10, and all there's contact there, and Carmentis does to Isat what Tymon Ross did to Carmentis, and then Peter's dropped it himself. Oh, that is a bottle and a half from Pease, and look at Montana around the outside of Pease here as well. Montana's a big moment into turn 13, nearly there.
Oh my God!
My word!
How did Montana get away with that, first and foremost? How did Pease get away with that spin? And how on earth did Carmentis lose our position to Izza? And how on earth is now Izza in the race, leading the race, and going to try and defend off Montana? Montana there in Pease, second and third, as Campbell has spun through the final corner.
Yeah, Campbell, I don't know what he did, but he must have done what Nathan did. He dropped it completely, and if he was in a battle for this win, he no longer is, because he's down, he's just ahead of Wouter, but Wouter's going to have fresh medium tyres and some DRS, so Campbell, this race has just taken a terrible turn for him.
Carmentis and Matthias, the two Alpines potentially side by side, certainly between Gladbach and Maledictus. Further down the field and towards turn number 1. Here comes the Red Bull down the inside line. Oh, and he makes contact with the inside curb and makes contact with Maledictus. Sent round, his own wrongdoing, I think, potentially there. He took too much curb on the inside, and Gladbach sent round. Maledictus, I don't think, really should report that. Gladbach, I think, the same. Just too much curb on the inside. Threw him off camera with the corner. Now he's side by side with his own teammate in towards turn number 4. We know what teammates are like down in towards turn number 4 here in Barcelona, in Spain. Hamilton and Rosberg, famously in 2016 in that championship fight. Gladbach 13th and Dillon there 14th. But yeah, Gladbach just took too much curb, threw off camera with the corner, and basically Maledictus was there, wrong place, wrong time, made contact, and Gladbach only went one way, and that was around.
I'm looking at Montana. He's half a second behind Izzat. He's going to dump his ERS here, but Izzat has got over 70% to use. Montana he's realised nice and quickly here, because he's turned his ERS off, that he's not going to get this move done into turn 1. He's going to have to sit behind Izzat for another lap here. The only benefit to that is it's keeping out behind Pease.
Was he lifting and coasting in towards turn number 1 there?
Yeah, I think he saw that Izzat was using his ERS, he was burning, wasn't going to get past the Ferrari, didn't have the straight line speed, and he thought, I'm not going to waste anything here. He didn't want to get drawn into any kind of pseudo battle with the Ferrari, and I think he wanted just to stay well clear.
Yeah, but interesting, lifting and coasting normally means he's running low on fuel. I haven't seen this fuel light on in this race, so Montana I think is fine in terms of the fuel. Maybe, as you say, just backing off on the back of Izzat, not attempting a move. Maybe in towards turn number 10, though, he might. He's 4 tenths away. Pease is right on the back of Montana. These two have had history in the past here in LOE, where they have made contact. One of them doesn't like the other. Alp on the back as well of Pease is all over the back of the Haas. And this, I've got to say, is favouring Alp more than Montana at this stage. Izzat and Pease don't have to come in the pit lane. They can fight for this position, but they do have to come in the pit lane at some point. Otherwise, of course, they'll get disqualified from this race. But Alp on the back of Pease. Pease on the back of Montana, who now peels off Pease into the pit lane. Alp now coming to the right-hander through the final corner on the run to the line, and here comes Montana for the race lead on Izzat. Izzat, though, now burning his battery. Has Montana got enough to try and get past round the outside? Pretty much like Rocco and Montana in the pass through turn number 1, and Izzat just shuts the door and went to the outside line, holds him up, and now Alp's going to be running back from him. There's nearly contact with the curb on the inside through turn number 2, and Montana now is put into the clutches of Alp. Here comes the American-born Turk, now on the back through turn number 3 and 4, tries to get the job done. He doesn't. Izzat, though, absolutely defensive masterclass there. A little bit aggressive, but Izzat holds on to the race lead. As I say, can defend that position. There's no entitlement for him to get out the way. He's just proven that.
The Singaporean channeling his inner Checo Perez there. That was fabulous from Izzat. He parked his car slap bang on the apex of 1 and 2, and he just said to Montana, not today, sunshine, not today. And is he going to go around for another lap? Because remember, there's a safety car. They've got another set of mediums now because of the patch. They've got softs available as well they can use from qualify. They will come into the pits here. If there's a safety car, Izzat's in the net lead of this race.
I've just clicked on as well what Izzat might be doing here. If Izzat stays out and backs Montana basically into a pocket like what he is doing with Alp at this stage, Izzat's going to back him up. Yildirim could be on the back of these. Campbell, Wouter. This is long game for Wouter, I think. He's on that sort of medium compound of tyres. Watch out for him later on this race as Izzat will defend him towards turn number 1 once again. Montana, though, I think it's going to be coy to the suspect. Tries to weave down the straight, trying to break the toe is Izzat, and he holds on to the lead through turn number 1, and Montana doesn't want to put himself in the same point unless he gets the job done through turn number 3. Look at him, right on the back. Alp on the back as well. We'll take this on board with the Williams perspective, but Izzat there still holds the lead coming through turn 4 once again. Montana and Alp 2nd and 3rd, but then again, I've got to say, Campbell and Yildirim and Wouter are all in the DRS training behind. 6.5 seconds. Izzat really parks the bus. Yildirim, Campbell and Wouter potentially could come in this race for the race win.
How will Campbell be feeling now, knowing if he hadn't made that spin, he would be right in a three-way battle for victory. Any dramas between Montana and Alp, any over-eagerness or lost heads, and Campbell will be right there to pick up the pieces for victory. Not so
oh my
now.
God.
And Montana's gone deep, and here comes Alp up the inside. It's a traction race through 10 and 11, and Alp nips through. Fabulous stuff from the Williams driver. He takes the net lead of this race, and Montana's frustrations, as they did in Singapore, getting the better of him.
Yeah, they're bowling over, I think, to breaking point at this stage. Izzat into the pit lane, and that is well judged. But Montana's got more ERS than Alp now, and this is going to be a war of attrition down the straight here in Spain. And we've still got 10 laps to go. Alp leads the way, Montana in 2nd, and nothing is going to happen down the straight here. Campbell on the back of Yildirim is, though, down the straight and towards turn number 1. Here comes the Alfa Romeo on the back of the Haas. Gets the job done easily, even before the corner. Campbell through and he's into 3rd, as you say, with that mistake and with that spin. 5.4 seconds now. The gap was more than 8 seconds before Izzat really backed up the likes of Alp and Montana. Campbell now in 3rd, 5.4 seconds. And look at Wouter running back of Yildirim towards turn number 4. Thought he was going to get the job done, the Dutchman, but he doesn't. The relentless man right on the back of Yildirim. But one begs the question, are those mediums going to get to the end of the race?
I think they will. It's only a 14, 15 lap stretch for Wouter, for Giron, for Car Mentalist. They're in a good position to get those to the end. I mean, we saw a few drivers go quite deep into this race. Montana pitted on, I think, lap 16 or 17. So certainly possible for Wouter to go nice and deep into this race. And Montana, what are we thinking now? If he should have pitted earlier, perhaps he might have been able to clear Izat sooner. But because he's not hounding Alp here, he doesn't look in a position like he's ready to take the lead of this race straight back. He's not. He's going to have to sit back, prepare his ERS, charge for a few laps. I say that, and he's using some through turn 16. I would think Montana, he's got DRS, he can just sit behind Alp, build up his ERS and have a crack at him for the last few laps of this race. He's gaining towards turn 1, but not a huge amount. He needs to build up his ERS stocks.
Wouter on the back of Yildirim, down the inside and towards turn number 1. The Ferrari through on the Haas. Gets the job done, he's into 4th. And Al Boyne with a bit of confidence. 1 dispatch now. The next one is Campbell ahead, but look at how much time they're now losing because they're in a bit of no man's land. Campbell especially so is no DRS ahead of him. Montana and Alp, 1st and 2nd at this stage. Currently still leading the way with a 5.7 second gap, and it looks like it's going to be between these two for now. Further down the field, by the way, Izza, who was in 12th position in the Ferrari, has got Gladbach right on the back of him. Like Gladbach in real life, they're on the relegation zone in the Bundesliga, and Gladbach is on the relegation zone of the point series, down in 13th position, on the back of Izza there in 12th, and hopefully he's going to try and use those 5-lap warmer tyres to try and get him in towards maybe turn number 9, maybe turn number 10, potentially, but Alp leading the way. We're going back on board with the leaders. Montana trying to hassle the back of him. Both of them now at the same ERS level. 27%, 29% actually for Alp, 29% for Montana. They are absolutely even Stevens at this stage, and Montana once again out of turn number 16. Just used a bit of ERS. He's going to gain a little bit of extra speed down the straight. He's not going to go for the move, but you know what Montana is like. If there's no safety car at the end of this race, until the end of this race, I think Montana is just going to sit and wait and attack on the final lap.
But Alp will know that Montana's going to do that. I think he'll sense what Montana's doing. If because he'll know when Montana uses ERS because he'll be right on the back of the Williams. He'll know Montana's not using too much, and Pease and Matthias has swapped places into turn 1 there.
Yeah,
so I think Alp will know to do the exact same Montana's doing. Just sit, try and build up as much as he can, because when Montana uses, Alp will know about it, so he'll know that Montana's trying to save.
Yep, Gladbach again on the back of Izza. That move for Pease, by the way, was quite easy in towards turn number 1. Matthias there down in 9th position. He's struggling on a set of hard compound tyres and goes so far out wide. I thought he was actually going to go in the gravel there for a second. He's there in 9th position there in the Alpine. And again, another one that had that moment, of course, right at the start of the race, around lap 6, lap 7, I think it was, for Matthias, who made a mistake. Obviously got caught out. Obviously lose 4 positions as a result. And all of those guys, your own commentators, Pease, are ahead of him out on track, and they're on a set of medium compounded tyres, which I think doesn't get any worse than that, really. And he's got Pease in front of him, who's also on a set of mediums, and is now pulling away. So I think Matthias now going to end up potentially in a bit of no man's land. Montana again on the back of Alp, 30% of ERS. Alp has got a little bit more now running down the straight. Wouter though is going to try and attack, I think, Campbell in towards turn 1. Here comes the Ferrari on the back of the Alfa Romeo, the Scotsman and the Dutchman now going to go side by side in towards turn 1. Campbell defends the middle line, the middle ground, but Wouter to the inside line, gets the job done. Campbell tries to switch back out of 1, tries to switch back out of 2, doesn't get the job done. Wouter on those mediums coming alive, and he's into 3rd.
Yeah, I think Wouter will kick on now. I think he's on the quicker tyres, and he'll be on the quicker tyres even all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. Even when those tyres are 14 laps old, I think they'll be quicker. And we've got Rocco has had a moment out of turn 9 for the umpteenth time today. He's had a moment. Montana, again, still not getting particularly close to the back of Alp. Gap was half a second. It was over 0.6 of a second coming out of turn 16 and 17. Sorry, just turn 16. There is no turn 17. But through the chicane, Montana's not staying as close to Alp as I thought. Maybe Montana's running lower wings because Alp seems to be running a little more smoothly through the chicane at the end of the lap, and it's interesting just watching Montana follow Alp. The different lines they're taking, Alp taking a much wider, higher line into 12. It does feel very cat and mouse here that we've got, and the gap 6 tenths into the chicane. Has Montana gained through it? No, he's lost just over a little bit of a tenth again, and now he's putting some ERS on out of turn 16. He's sussing up whether he can make a move. Alp goes a little defensive. He can sense Montana was a little closer that time, but not close enough for an overtake. But I think Alp, that little move out of the last corner shows that he's a little bit spooked, at least, by the presence of the AlphaTauri behind him. 7 laps to go.
Yeah, they are playing the waiting game. It's like a game of chess. You don't want to make your move first, and you don't want to make the winning move until what will be, in this case, the final lap of the race here, potentially for Montana on the back of Alp. But then again, we've seen Montana go a lap early and then still try and win the race from there. I remember, I think it was Silverstone, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit early on in the season, where Montana basically went for the move onto the penultimate lap of the race, got the job done, and then got chased down all the way to the checkered flag that day. He's there in second position, out there in the lead of the race. Chiara, by the way, saying I think Izza was slowing down Montana on purpose. He doesn't like that. I've got to be honest, I've got to agree on that, because Izza was defending the position. There was no entitlement, as I say, for him to actually move out of the way. Same with Formula 1. Lap cars obviously do have to get out of the way. This was for fighting position. This was for the race lead, so therefore Izza was not entitled to get out of the way. It didn't really sit well with me, to be honest, but he's Izza, I'm James, and I'm better commentate on you for the final 6 laps of this race. Alp leads the way, Montana in second, Whiter there in third, Campbell there in fourth. But yeah, Izza, I think, was a little bit too aggressive, is what I'm trying to say, in his defence, obviously, but he was entitled to defend that position. So, as I say, it's a bit 50-50 from my perspective, but yeah, he was brake checking as well, another comment that's been put in there. Of course, the stewards, if Montana wants to investigate that, will, of course, do that, and the stewards will have a very detailed look at that, even though I think we've had a detailed look and probably had our say on things as well.
I take perhaps a quaint view of things. I think unless it's that sticking his middle finger up at Montana and shoving him off the road with a pointy elbow, I think he's entitled to do what he likes. If he wants to defend that position, he can. If he wants to let that position go, he can. He can do what he likes. Montana is a little closer this lap, but as always, his undoing is this third sector. He needs to stay very close to Alp, and Alp is getting very wide on the exit of 10, and Montana, I think, was caught perhaps distracted by that going very wide on the exit of 10, and had a big snap himself through 11, but this is as close as Montana's been, but he needs to stay close to the chicane.
Chicken there as well, saying in the chat, by the way, don't think it was brake checking, but it was teamwork, I'm guessing, to make it easy for Wouter to catch. Exactly what I said in commentary a little bit earlier on, and yeah, I totally agree with that comment as well. Alp leads the way, 5 laps to go, including this one. We've just got on to Montana again, playing that game of chess, not going to make the first move on the back of Alp, but I think Alp is probably a little bit buoyed now. He's got 5% more ERS. Montana there, 38%. Alp on 43%. Campbell catching on Whiter in towards turn number 1 as well. Dylan, by the way, has got onto a set of soft compound tyres a little bit further down the field. But Alp there, leading the way. I think he now realises what Montana is going to do. It's not a case of if, it's a case of when he is going to go for that move. And I think Alp has got to now put himself in a position. He will know the defensive line that he's going to take potentially in towards turn 1 to defend. And Montana, like Rocco and Montana did a little bit earlier on in League of Europe in one of their seasons, I think it was season 4 if I'm not mistaken, on F1 2020, when Montana went around the outside of Rocco, that was for the net race lead. This is going to be for the race lead out on track, and Alp and Montana are putting on, I've got to say, a really good show. Whiter's not going to get close. Campbell's not going to get close. Unless there's a safety car going to come out in the next 2 laps. We're going to be pretty much in the checkered flag. And Alp, at this moment in time, is weathering the storm as Montana makes a mistake out of turn 13.
I've got, and another one out of 15 there. I've got a little update for you. Tymon Voss has left the League of Europe Discord server. So clearly he came in, rocked up, punted 2 people in the rear end on lap 1, came into the pitch, retired, and thought, I'm going to leave the league. Fair dues, as Rocco has spun out of the last... No, not Rocco, that's Jerome. Jerome has dropped out of the last corner, was running in P6, only loses 1 place. But he's going to leave himself very vulnerable to the artists of P's now, who's on 2-lap fresher tyres with just 4 laps to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tymon Voss maybe rumbled in terms of my commentary a little bit earlier on about him and Rudy. Who knows? Alp out on top, Montana in second. Not going to make any claims or anything or any bias towards that, but Montana on the back of Alp, still with 3.5 laps to go, around about 15 or 16 kilometres left in this race, with the fireworks certainly going off in my background. Alp leading the way, Montana in second, and I've got to say, hopefully this race is going to go not as a sparkle, but with a bang with 3 laps to go.
Hopefully it is. Let's have a look at checking with the RS. Montana's up to 45%, 48% for Alp. They are really
they've got Rocco ahead of them,
this.
Though.
And they've got Rocco. I wonder if Rocco fancies giving. I'm just thinking of how his AI behaves in Hungary. I wonder if he's going to give Alp DRS. Yeah, he absolutely is. I think you're right. I think...
He is!
I think that's deliberate from Rocco. I have to say, unless Rocco's running an AI again, I think that's deliberate from Rocco, which is very naughty, and I wonder if Montana will be submitting a cheeky steward's report for that one. Because Montana will see Alp's DRS open, he'll see the gap extending down the straight, he will be seething out of there as Rocco has a big moment out of 2.
Oh, he's going to get out of the way. Oh, he's spun.
Oh,
there we are.
Classic, just Rocco things. He goes from first to last. We talk about the first challenge. Rocco's won at last week at what track was it even? Austria. And now he's gone to last place here.
But I'll tell you what that has done, no matter if it was deliberate or not, Alp has now pulled away from Montana by another 2 or 3 tenths of a second. And Alp now has got the confidence board in him. They're now using up ERS at various points of the circuit. They're coming out of turn number 8, that was, from Montana's perspective. Alp using up the ERS again. That's Rocco off again, coming through the the right-hand return number 9 in the background. But Alp leading the way, Montana in second. I think Montana's still got an element of persuasion, I think, over this move. He can go when, not if, I think. But without getting that DRS, that has really helped him along. It's this final sector, though, that he seems to struggle. And Montana now catching up through the chicane, much more better this time. I wonder if he's going to try and make an attack down in towards turn 1 this lap around. And do you know what? I think he might, because Alp leads the way down the straight. Montana using up every amount of that ERS. He uses up about half of that. And stays within 3 tenths of a second down and towards turn number 1. But with penultimate lap of the race to go, Montana is going to lay all of his cards on the line as Campbell makes the move done for on Reiter for P3. He's down the inside line and gets the job done even before the corner. So Campbell through and he's into P3. But Montana now trying to lay all of his decks pretty much on the table. And Montana now trying to get Alp for the race win here with 2 laps to go.
I think he's going to get him next lap. You know, Alp looks rattled. Rocco's done his work for the evening, ruined Montana's night, and has promptly retired from the race. Now he's a lap down after 50 or so spins. Let's have a look at Montana. He'll close up towards turn 10 here. Not close enough for a move. Alp trying to break the slipstream. Montana's having none of that. They come into turn 10. Montana really aggressive on the turn in there, on the brakes. Alp taking that higher line. Montana's just going to pick his own way through this, and he is hounding the back of that Williams. A little earlier on the throttle for Alp, and now it's all about who's got the bottle through 14 and 15. Montana was nice and tight on his turn-in. The gap's under 6 tenths per second. It's closer than it was last time around, and Montana's going to dump it all the way down to turn 1.
And do you know what? I don't think he's close enough to get the job done in towards turn 1. This is looking increasingly like Alp, as that is Dylan coming out of the pit lane. If you thought it wouldn't get any more, Dylan might come out of the pit lane in front of Montana, and he does! Just about, and Montana put off with that. Everything is not working in Montana's way, but it is working in White's way. Down the inside through turn number 1. Campbell side by side. Now coming out of turn number 2. Through turn number 3. Whiter not giving this up and gets the job done. Through turn number 3. Job done. And Campbell now tucks back in the slipstream on the outside line. In towards turn number 4. Tries to go all the way around the outside. The Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo contracted to the same manufacturer basically, and Campbell now down the inside of turn number 5, locks up, goes into the back of him, and that should be that done. White are there in third. Alp has done so well, I've got to say, in terms of his rhythm. Here comes Montana though down the straight in towards turn number 10 for the final time here in Spain. Tries a lunge from an absolute mile back. He's not getting that one stopped. Alp leads the way with still Dylan on the back of these guys as well. It's going to be so off-putting to see a ghosted car behind you. Alp though leading the way through the final couple of corners. He had too much of an advantage going on to the final lap of the race. Montana, he has played his game and he's played it absolutely brilliantly, but it's wrong. Alp round the final corner to the line, wins in Spain. Montana there in second, a great race, and do you know what, if it was another 200 metres I think Montana would have got him. Weiser around the final corner to finish in P3. Campbell there in 4th, Yildirim there in 5th, Car Mentalist in the end in P6 as Montana has left the session already in absolute, I'm sure, anger and frustration. Car Mentalist there in 6th, Jeroen in 7th, Pease there in 8th, Matthias there in 9th, Verstappen is going to run off the top 10 as Maledictus and Gladbach are going to come through for 11th and 12th as well. Verstappen in 10th, Maledictus 11th, Gladbach 12th, and in 13th in the end was the Ferrari there of Izzat, I believe, finishing in 13th. What a race that was! Crescendo moment, I think, in the championship. Of course, Montana's already wrapped it up. Jeroen picks up drive of the day, but Alp, he had so much pressure for the final 10-11 laps of that race. He handled that pressure well, had too much of an advantage going on to the final lap. no matter what comers came in front of track, quite literally, of Montana, Alp was there to really pick up the pieces, and Alp, in the end, takes the win, and he damn well deserves it after that performance.
Oh, I fully agree. A beautiful, beautiful drive from Alp. Although Montana, as you say, I think he left in a fit of rage. For him, at least, it'll feel like there was a concerted conspiracy against him this evening between Rocco, between Dylan, between Izzat. Montana had a few spanners thrown in his works this evening, but he gave it a bloody good go. But Alp just got the better of him, and it was that battle with Izzat that was so decisive in the end, wasn't it? Wouter, shout out to him from 7th to 3rd. It was a low-key rise. He fended off Campbell one way or another at the end, and he's with Connor retiring. Wouter continues to tighten his grip on P2 in the championship, despite not having won a race. So a consistency is triumphing over Connor's raw speed in that regard, and shout out to Jerome did very well as well, didn't he? At the front of that train for so long, he just drove a calm race. From 15th to 7th, and Pete had a good one as well.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think, honestly, Izzat, Rocco and Dylan will be forming up their own club, I think, after what has been thrown there at Montana. Alp takes the win in, I'm going to say, quite controversial circumstances there. For Montana in 2nd, he deserved that win. I'm not getting the question around that, but it was controversial with Montana still finishing 2nd, and with cars coming out in front of him. Wouter there in 3rd, Campbell in 4th, Yildirim in 5th. Comensus, I thought, drove really well with his pace there in 6th. Jeroen in 7th, 15th up in the grid, up to 7th. Bangs in the fastest lap as well, slacks an extra point. Pease, Matthias, Verstappen, Maledictus, Gladbach, Izzat, Dylan, Rocco, Nathan, Hyper, Connor, and Timon Voss. Quite a few retirements in that race as well. Montana in the comment section, a little bit of maybe exclusive breaking news here. He says, that's why I will stop league racing, and he also says GG Alp as well. And to be honest, I fully agree with him at this stage. If I was in Montana's shoes, I'd be absolutely fuming. I'd be punching the wall, quite literally, I think, at this point. Because in the end of the day, no matter what might have come as a result, it was unfortunate because obviously Izzat had their own spins, Rocco had their own spins, he'd spun quite a few times, but to have ghosted cars in front of you, there is nothing more annoying and nothing more angry, I think, of having cars come out of the pit lane in front of you and not really respect the track rules. And honestly, that needs looking at from the steward's perspective, because if drivers are allowed to do that, you may as well call it a 5-lap league.
I don't know how I feel. I think with Dylan, he was passed by Montana very quickly and stayed behind Montana. I think Dylan probably on fresh softs could have got back past Montana on that last lap, and elected and chose not to. The others, I should say I'm joking about conspiracy. I don't think there's any conspiracy against Montana, but I think it speaks to Montana's champion's mindset and his ruthless mindset and attitude that, you know, he finishes 2nd in a race and says that's why I'm going to stop league racing. I think you know it is a Schumacher Verstappen-esque mentality that it is all or nothing for Montana, and he in the best possible way, as a compliment to him, he needs everything to go his way or he's not happy, and it's reflected in the fact that, you know, he doesn't win a race after he's won the title already. Says he's going to quit league racing. I mean, fair play to the big man.
Yep, I'll by the way, adding this in the chat, and I think, honestly, respect to Alp for doing this as well. I had no communication with Izzat or Rocco, and it definitely benefited me, but delighted regardless. I'd honestly rather to see Alp absolutely deserve that win, not taking that win away from him whatsoever. But in the end, he got that DRS of Rocco was a bit of a freebie. Rocco didn't get out the way. It's the same argument as I mentioned with Izzat. It was basically fighting for the race lead. Izzat was not entitled to get out the way. Rocco was a lapped car. Same with Dylan. They were both entitled to get out the way, because that is the rule of league racing. That is the rule in Formula 1. And if they're not following that, I've got to be honest, and I'm just going to put it quite bluntly, you shouldn't really be league racing if that's the case.
Yeah, I think the Rocco one is the one I'm most dubious of. I think Rocco could have got out of the way a lot sooner than he did, and the fact he gave out DRS and then retired immediately the next lap, as was the case with Justas at Hungary, although we know Rocco wasn't in AI this time because he was spinning galore. So that one doesn't sit right with me. But Izzat and Dylan, I don't think too much wrong happened there. Izzat was well within his rights, because as we said, if there was a safety car, everyone would have pitted, I think, for fresh tyres. He would have been leading the race. So I see what he did. Dylan didn't challenge Montana on the last lap of the race once he was behind him. So it's only the Rocco one, I think, really, that was a little bit cheeky.
Yeah, I think Dylan, to be honest, it was unfortunate that he was coming out the pit lane, but he should have thought better coming out the pit lane on the final lap of the race when there was a race battle going on for the race lead. And I see that from that perspective there as well. The argument could rage on, but we're going to end it off here, and I'm sure you would be delighted to know that Killer Blue is going to be racing in Division 2, which will probably shut up some of his opinions a little bit and channel them into his race, potentially, tonight in Division 2. Hopefully it's going to be a good race there as well. Division 2 and Division 4 are obviously going to be looking at some really good racing, hopefully in Spain, hopefully with a little bit less controversy on track. Of course, the stewards will decide on everything if it is reported. I'm sure Montana will report some of the incidents that have been had out on track. But yeah, Alp, nothing taken away from Alp. He absolutely deserved that victory, but in the end of the day, he won. Basically, I'm not saying he got gifted the race, but he got basically gifted outside of his control, and that was because of the Mercedes. But Alp absolutely deserved that, had the pace over Montana, deserves the race win. And I am going to leave that there before I get really shouted at in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching League of Europe. Hopefully you are going to calm yourselves down, potentially as well, and tune in for Division 2 and Division 4. It is Alex the G, who I've commentated alongside TML with in recent weeks. Great commentator, taking to the action for Division 2 alongside Verstappen, who was also going to be there. And then Division 4, I believe it's all Maverick, I think, by himself, because Packer is away once again. So Maverick going to be taking to the action there for Division 4 as well. And I'm going to let Killer Blue as well go and practice for his race, because I think he really needs it. I think after what we've seen there in Division 1, that is for sure. A big thank you though to Mr. Killer Blue for joining me in the commentary box as always. We're going to be back next week, hopefully with a little bit less controversy. I'll get the calendar up very quickly indeed and tell you where we are when my iPad decides to load, unless you know off by heart. Oh, he's left the party. He's already gone. But the calendar anyways, it is going to be... That's the wrong calendar. It is going to be next week. We are in Saudi Arabia. So we're in Saudi Arabia, which, judging by what we saw in real life last season, are we going to see any more controversy there? Who knows? We are going to get going, though. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, next week in Saudi Arabia, goodbye.